So are we in a stalemate with Iran? Well, reality shows that the US and Israel have pounded Iran. They have the absolute military superiority, but will that be enough to impose a desired result on Iran? All of that and more. Welcome back to Briefly. Stay tuned. Hello, this is Or Yissachar, and you're watching Briefly by Underscore. Welcome back. It's been a while. And before I continue, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below. This really helps us create much more amazing content for you guys. Well, we find ourselves in kind of a stalemate with Iran because, as you can see, the war in Iran has been dragging on for almost 100 days now, over 3 months. And the new Ayatollah in Iran, whom we've never heard from still, is insisting on continued fighting. Iran has fired 4 missiles into northern Israel and a few more missiles into central Israel yesterday and before yesterday. And with the combined force of its proxy in Lebanon, that would be Hezbollah. Now, the Trump administration asked Israel not to retaliate, to which Israel said politely, we just can't do that. It's out of the question. We're going to normalize an equation in which Iran and Hezbollah are going to, as we say in Hebrew, letaftif, to like drip drop, few missiles here and there, a little bit like they do from Yemen. The Houthis in Yemen also fired one missile. And so Israel would be forced to accept an unacceptable reality, and that's out of the question. But Trump said he also asked Israel, said, fine, you can retaliate, but stop at some point because I want this finished with. Now, a fortnight ago, as I love saying, or 2 weeks ago, Trump said, I'm not in a hurry at all. I don't care about the midterms, literally in those words. And my desired outcome is to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons that can take as long as it can take. And we all know that's sort of not true. And Trump has made it clear that he wants Iran to sign a deal that includes a more favorable outcome to Israel and the United States. And I'm not here to tell you that the US and Israel are losing this. Of course, they're winning this. Iran is crushed. The value of its currency is non-existent. Okay, its economy is on the floor, and the street protests are not there for now because people are scared, and the regime is effectively managing to sort of do this a terror effect that is so good at. But I'm not sure it's going to last very long. Inflation is skyrocketing, and the country is basically on a stalemate. But it is effectively succeeding in blocking the Strait of Hormuz, as it threatened to do, with the sheer threat of, let's say, targeting ships with light weapons, with drones, with some like little small groups of soldiers. There would be not an entire navy because the navy is gone, but you can have a few companies of soldiers from the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who would, by striking just one ship, terrorize the entire world. And as we know, it's an essential artery. 20 to 30% of the world's oil and gas consumption, be it LNG or oil, coming from Iran, Iraq, Qatar, and all these other countries, UAE, passes through the Strait of Hormuz. And countries like the US are not as dependent on it, but others are more, especially in the East. So the question is, are we winning or losing? I think militarily, the US and Israel are winning over Iran. But the whole point of military exercises is to force a desired favorable outcome in the end. That would be strategically either a change of regime in Iran, forced by a military campaign combined with the pressure by protesters on the ground, and Iran giving up willingly its stockpile of enriched uranium. That would be the fissile material necessary, absolutely necessary, to build a nuclear bomb. We should definitely take Trump at his word and Netanyahu at their word. They would never allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. But never is a funny word because both of them are not forever in their jobs. And Iran is just hoping that after Trump and Netanyahu, there will be a US president and an Israeli prime minister who would be less inclined to act. Much like President Obama, he pushed for a deal with Iran that ended up where we are today. This is not just because of what Trump did, it is also much because the Iranians desire to build nuclear weapons. We tend to conflate these things. And I think in general, a good rule would be placing things in the right order. Yes, we are where we are because Trump and Netanyahu decided to embark on this campaign in Iran. We can argue on the merits whether it's good or not. I would definitely argue that the PR campaign is a disaster, and the communication strategy is as complex and should be as meticulously planned as a military campaign. And I think both Israel and the US failed on that front. But to say that they embarked on a war because they love war would be not the most mature argument to make. I think many of these scenarios were discussed, and it was decided that the situation in Iran is intolerable. The protests on the street give you the window of opportunity that you wanted, combined with the fact that the Ayatollahs have renewed their efforts to acquire nuclear weapons, digging even deeper bunkers in order to enrich uranium there, according to reports. And so all of that is where we are today. And Trump is hoping for a deal. Israel is hoping for a regime change. And Iran is hoping to fudge time and buy more time until such time that international pressure, domestic pressure will result in the US and Israel just leaving them and allowing them to rearm. A few elements to consider here to finish. One is Lebanon. Iran has tied the ceasefire to Lebanon. We can see Hezbollah violated time and time again, shooting at Israel. Residents of northern Israel are continuously suffering the results, as well as Israeli soldiers who fall on the front lines. No one wishes to have war in Israel. We hear all these podcasters who, in a funny way, say that despite Trump's demands, Israel continues to bomb because it wants to bomb. Tucker Carlson made that point, and some others. And I would say again, it's not the most mature argument to make. Israel doesn't want war. It doesn't want more soldier casualties. It doesn't want this instability. But it wants to finish the job in Lebanon as much as it wants to finish the job in Iran. It's willing to pay the price for it. And it's something to commend and to support rather than smear, as we see, especially in Western Europe, by some audiences and politicians. And of course, the blabbing class of the podcasters. But we're here to make everything much more clear. So in Lebanon, we see actually a more, I would say, very interesting development, since the public in Lebanon is not Gaza and is may not even be Iran. The public in Lebanon wants a peace with Israel. We see these TV shows where, especially Christians, but also others, the members of the audience get up and say, "I want to have beer in Tel Aviv. I want peace with Israel. Why do we need war with these people? Yes, I don't love everything they do, but why do we need war with these people? Because Hezbollah tells us that we need to, and we refuse to participate any longer." And this is getting traction, and we see the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors meet at the Oval Office with President Trump. Marco Rubio is personally involved in facilitating peace between Israel and Lebanon. When I said it a year ago, 2 years ago, I was laughed at. But whoever sees reality, and you can track the next step and the following step, you can definitely see the trend. So I would definitely pay attention to Israel keeping up its activity in Lebanon, not because it likes bombing Lebanon, but because it wants to get a definite result, and the Lebanese government is key in achieving that objective. And I would also say the Lebanese people, the public, needs to also show more public willingness to get done with it, get over with it, and join their government and Israel in getting rid of Hezbollah. So where is this all going? I would estimate that it will take a few more days, perhaps a few more weeks, but by the end of June, I hope we'll see a much clearer result in Iran. This is definitely not what Israel and the US wanted 3+ months in, and to be stuck in this position, tit for tat, and so on. But we all can also see reality for what it is. Ground invasion was not popular among neither administration. They weren't sure that hundreds of thousands of members of the IRGC, the Islamic Military Guard Corps, would be subdued, and there would be civil war. It would result in bloodier results, and they wanted to avoid all that. But the final point I would say here is to obtain a changed reality. No one is embarking on a war frenzy because they love war. They are taking a huge risk, unlike some politicians in Western Europe in the podcaster class who would just not name a motive, but they would say that Trump and Israel love the current campaign, either because they are not smart enough to understand, or because they're trapped in this war appetite for some bizarre reason. And that is far from being the case. Israel especially, and the Gulf country in the Arab world, are suffering major consequences from this war, but it's a risk that we're willing to take, and it's commendable. And I would say that the day after the war must absolutely include the removal of the enriched uranium from Iran, a much weakened regime, and taking on the stockpile of missile launchers and drones so they can stop terrorizing the countries around them, plus making sure that they stop funneling those funds to proxies around the region, either by this deal, which I doubt would result in this outcome, or more favorably by changing the political reality in Lebanon so that the country there actually, the government actually controlled rather than an Iranian affiliate named Hezbollah, and of course in Gaza, winning over Hamas and changing the political reality there. So that's a lot. It's a lot to do. And again, the good order of things. There are enemies of Western civilization that embarked on a campaign to deny the West its freedom, and then they said openly. The mission here is to be clear-eyed, to be pragmatic, to know when to stop, but also to stop when clear results are obtained. Thank you very much. This is Or Yissachar, and you're watching Underscore. Thank you for watching Briefly by Underscore, and as always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe down below to be the first to watch the next episode.